Thank you very much, D-Man. Indeed, Froggen has joined us here as well to analyze the games that are coming up here still today. The very first game, Fnatic coming out very strong versus SK Gaming. Taking it back to the beginning, if we analyze the comps and maybe the pick strategy they went for, a first lock-in Orianna for SK Gaming. What did you make of that?
I did not expect Orianna first pick, but they wanted to have a farm-heavy champion that does good in almost every situation, and they had a solid plan with picking Jinx and then going for the 2 versus 1. And Fnatic's comps is a bit out of meta. I don't think it's actually the way you're supposed to play in this meta because they had a pick composition. And I think SK, they could basically just push down the turrets and then they could group mid and siege against Fnatic's pick comp, and I think they would have done really well, but that didn't happen.
Indeed, that didn't happen because level 1, a lot of skirmishes there. Soaz got a kill and Xpeke got a kill. Tell me, you're a Trundle versus a Lee Sin, and the Lee Sin eventually comes up in your lane and he already has a kill, but as a Trundle, you could push a little, so how does that match up then?
I think the most important thing about that level 1 was that SK wanted to have a 2 versus 2 lane with the Sona against Karma. And SK read Fnatic that they wanted to lane swap, especially when Soaz hovered over Vladimir to play into the Trundle, but eventually went for Lee Sin. Lee Sin isn't that great against Trundle, but he's very good in lane swap. So SK read Fnatic like an open book. But then the reaction of Fnatic, and especially Soaz, it just shows so much confidence and so much teamwork that he stayed into the top lane to get those kills. Most top laners would have just teleported to the bot lane. And after those kills, I also have to give huge props to Cyanide, because not only did he get a great kill in the mid lane, but he also used the fact that N-Rated didn't have flash anymore to just seal the deal for Reckless and Yellowstar to dominate that lane.
So all those lanes were going well, and then in the mid lane, you said first, well, if they go into lane now, the Orianna versus LeBlanc, Xpeke leveled up his E, I believe, so he wouldn't have had a good time, but then he got a kill. So how did that lane match up after that?
Yeah, I don't think Jess has controlled his wave very well at level 1, and that resulted in Cyanide level 2 ganking because Xpeke just leveled up after skilling E without getting punished at all when Jesse started with his shield, and I think he could have punished Pekka way harder, and he should never die to the level 2 gank.
So a very explosive start. We were in for a great game, and then everything kind of slowed down. What was the reason? Did Fnatic not push through when they could, or was it just impossible for them?
It was mainly because of Fnatic's composition. Like, they had pretty much no poke. They have a comp where they need to get picks, and then they need to transfer that into objectives, which they did very well. But then you saw them being like 15 and 18k ahead. SK is basically going AFK in their base. If Fnatic gets a free Baron, it doesn't matter. They get like 1k damage onto the mid turret, and that's the only thing they ever make of that Baron. And they climb another 5k gold ahead before the other Baron happens. And SK is still AFK in their base. They just went AFK for 10-15 minutes because they have a comp that can just clean. And if Fnatic ever tries to dive them 5 versus 5 with a pick composition, they're not going to do that well. So Fnatic didn't want to risk that, and that resulted in a very slow game.
A slow mid-game indeed, and Youngbuck, if you were playing that Trundle, we did see that when he went head-to-head with Lee Sin, it did work out fine, and even if you had teleport, there was just nothing you're able to do if you're caught inside your own base. Is there anything you can do?
Well, Trundle is pretty good against Lee Sin, so I actually hope that Fnatic either bans the Trundle, because I think that it's a very comfort pick for Freddy, or they leave it open and pick a heavy counter into it like Vladimir.
Okay, when we're going to the next game, then you said that Fnatic's comp, it worked in this case because they got pretty far ahead in the early game, but it won't necessarily work next. What do you feel that SK can pick or can ban that they can't do this again?
I'm not sure. It depends on the Fnatic players. Like, they all have very high versatility in the champion pools. Like, they can pretty much play every champion in their role, so it depends on what kind of composition they want to go for.
Yeah, because yesterday we saw versus Roccat that SK made adjustments immediately. They banned out 2 champions that Roccat was very good at. Do you think you can do the same versus Fnatic? You can just target 3 bans now on this game, or is Fnatic a team that you can't just do that against?
Fnatic has 2 big of champion pools on all their lanes, and SK is now thinking, what are we going to give them and what are we getting in return? They do have the last ban, so they can pretty much predict what Fnatic is going to first pick and what they want to get in return. So maybe the champion select for SK might be stronger. They might have a stronger level 1 as well.
Froggen, who do you call it for game 2?
I would say Fnatic.
Fnatic, Youngbuck.
Fnatic.
All right. Thank you very much, guys. We're going to go over to you guys at home because today, of course, we asked you on Twitter to tweet at LOL Esports which European LCS player had the biggest influence on your own playstyle this split and why. And here's what you had to say. The first one is from @SugarD's. Biggest influence on me has to be amazing. To this day, I still can't get that insect fake to kick in high priority targets. You play with amazing. You know how good he is.
Yeah, having his Lee Sin on the team is just so great. You feel so free in your lanes. He puts pressure everywhere, and he makes plays when it matters.
Absolutely does. Second one is from @AdamP1998. Reckless, he taught me how playing safe and farming it up can let you carry games as much as kills can. And well, we actually didn't see that big of an influence here now because they didn't need to, but we know how good of a player Reckless is.
Yeah, Reckless is extremely good. He can play pretty much all the champions, and he knows how to play the different champions. And his mechanics in team fights are pretty much spot on. There's not a lot you can criticize about him, so I think he's like probably the most solid AD carry right now.
The last one is from @OwenNinja. Probably Vander, the closest thing to Mad Life you'll see outside of Korea influence my Thresh play. That are hard words. Do you think he's the same level as Mad Life as we have here in Europe?
So I've played with Mad Life multiple times. Both with and against him, and he kind of plays the same style because he's Morgana binding and his fresh hooks. He is really good at knowing when he needs to throw them, and usually if he misses a fresh hook or Morgana binding, it's because it's more like a zoning tool then that forces them into the direction Vander walks them to walk into his team. And that's like either you get hit or you are getting zoned into his own team, so you pretty much have to flash it no matter what. And Mad Life is doing the exact same thing, so it's a bit like Mad Life style, but probably not as good as him.
Probably not as good, but still getting compared to him, not bad. Thank you guys for those, and remember, you can keep the conversation live on Twitter throughout this championship series by using that hashtag.